Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast with Phil Graham. We help you master Facebook ads and give you an unfair advantage over your competition. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast, episode 362. I'm Phil Graham, and today I'm going to be sharing some ChatGPT secrets on how to use AI to help master your Facebook ad targeting. So a lot of people are either not using AI or they're using AI, but they're using it wrong. And they're using it in a way that's actually hurting them more than helping them. One of the things I love to use AI for is ad targeting strategies. It really gives us an edge. And so I'm so excited to share that with you guys in today's episode. To be great at targeting, you must know a lot about your ideal customers and clients and audience. And that's where using ChatGPT and audience research will help you. Before we jump into all the good stuff, if you guys are looking for any one-on-one coaching to learn ads, I feel like it's the best way to learn in the world. So if you're looking for that, or if you need somebody to run your ads for you, for either one of those things, you can go to my website, philgrahamdigital.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital. Let's connect. So let's talk about AI and Facebook ad targeting, my friends. First, I want to be very clear. You shouldn't just be using Advantage Plus audiences and not doing your own specific audiences. That would be a big mistake. The second thing I want to be very clear about is AI by itself is good, but if most people are using it the way that most people are, there's a good chance they're going to fail. You don't want to just use AI without your skill and experience. So when you combine ChatGPT with your skill, your experience, and your talent, that is what can give you a huge advantage, especially over those who are just using AI, because that is a huge mistake that's probably costing them a ton of time and a ton of money. So do not make the mistake of just using what AI gives you. The real magic is taking what you get from AI and combining it with your secret sauce and your advantages, and you can come out with something really amazing compared to what your competitors or other people are doing. And that really is a huge edge that you guys can have. So I want to jump right into talking about how we develop effective audiences and do our audience research using ChatGPT. So essentially, we ask, of course, ChatGPT a series of very specific questions focused around different things like demographics, interests, behaviors, and pain points and preferences. So I'm going to share some of those questions today, but I want to be very clear and remind you the answers you get from these questions are not just what you are going to act on. You're going to take that and combine that with what you already know and what your skills are, and then mold that into a really good audience. It's very similar with ad copy. A lot of people make a huge mistake of just having ChatGPT write their ad copy. I love to compete against those people because they're at a huge disadvantage. But when you take what it gives you and combine it with what you know, that's where that power is. So please do not forget that. So you guys, I'm going to have all these questions on my website under this episode, episode 362. So you don't have to remember them all or try and write them all down as you're listening. Don't worry about that. Just go to philgrahamdigital.com/podcast, and then you will see episode 362. Click on that. And then in addition to the show notes, it'll have each one of these questions in there. You can copy and paste, and you don't have to worry about writing all this stuff down. So let's jump right in. We're going to start with demographics. Now, you may already know the ideal age ranges of your customers. And if you do, maybe you skip this one. I would still ask the question anyway, but we asked ChatGPT what age ranges or groups are most interested in And then we talk about an industry. You could also mention a specific product or service, but I recommend being kind of broad. Random example, pretend like you were like a fitness coach or trainer. I wouldn't just say in fitness training. I would ask that question, but in addition, I would ask a more broad question about what age ranges are most interested in online coaching or this or that. I would be very broad with it because that's going to give us more information to work with. But I would also ask specific to your industry as well. So ask one way that's specific to your exact product or service. And then a second question about these age ranges that's more broad to your industry in general. Next question we ask for demographics is what region or regions or locations typically show the highest engagement with? And again, you can mention your product or service and or your industry. And then you might find some areas, whether it's zip codes, cities, states, countries, you might find some areas that you had no idea that you weren't targeting, or maybe you're targeting, but it doesn't get much reach. And they have huge engagement with a specific industry or product or service. And then you might be able to focus some ads to those areas specifically. So those are just a couple questions to get us started just on basic demographics. And you may already know these things for your specific product or service, but I would still ask it because you might find something that you didn't realize. Let's jump into some of the better stuff. And we're going to talk about interests and preferences. So I've got 4 questions here that are really powerful. Number 1, what are the common interests of my target audience? Now, instead of just saying my target audience, you're going to actually describe what your target audience is and who they are based off of number 1, what you already know, and number 2, what you've discovered from any previous questions you've asked about your audience, including these demographic questions. So what are the common interests of moms who shop at Lululemon who might be interested in a fitness trainer or something like that? You want to be somewhat specific here. And you want to be specific based off of what you know. And if you don't know a whole lot about your exact target audience, then you can be a little bit more broad until you know more, and then you can start being more specific. But you want to find out what some of their common interests are. You could even just start with demographics. What are some common interests of women in their 30s who are moms, if that was your ideal customer? So that can really help you. That's a great question for interests and preferences. The second question, what types of content do they engage with the most? And where do they typically do that? That's also really great because then you can find out, are they more interested in images or videos, long form, short form? What platforms do they use the most? And you can find out some interesting things. Now, ChatGPT is not always going to be correct with what it gives you. If it doesn't line up with what you're seeing in your data, again, that's where you come in. You got to kind of put these two together with what you know as well. So keep that in mind, but it'll be super helpful to really get you clear on who to target and why. The next question for interests and preferences is, are there specific hobbies or activities that resonate with my audience? That's really good because what I like to do is I like to run ads that aren't just about a specific product or service, but I like to group things together when I can. Not all ads are like this, but if you know that a lot of your audience likes a certain TV show or sports team, for example, you could mention that in your ad as long as it made sense and you had a way to bridge that with whatever your ad was about. So that could be interesting. And then another question, the last one for this section for interests and preferences, what are they likely to hate or strongly dislike? So what is my target audience based off of all the questions we've already asked? What do they most likely hate or strongly dislike? And that can really be helpful because that can open up a lot of ideas that you may not have realized. So those are our interests and preferences questions. Next, we move down to behaviors and habits. So we've got three questions here for that. How does my audience typically spend their leisure time? Great question. If you know that, it's going to help you not only with targeting, but potentially with ad copy as well. Secondly, second question, what brands do they like the most? And which brands are they most loyal to? That's a really good question. I guess that was two questions in one, but that's powerful. And then the third question for behaviors and habits. Do they prefer to shop online or in store? What's their preference? And I don't always ask that question, but sometimes I do. And it's interesting what it comes up with depending on who your target audience is. So I think for most of you guys, that would probably be a good question to add in there. Next series of questions is about challenges and pain points. So, first question, what are the biggest challenges or pain points faced by my audience? And again, there's a reason why we didn't start with challenges or pain points. We kind of wanted to define our audience through demographics, through interests and preferences and behaviors first. So ChatGPT knows more about our audience. Also, anything you already know about your ideal audience and customers, you could put in here first as well. And then we ask about the challenges and pain points. So, what are their biggest challenges or pain points? Number one. Number two, what motivates my ideal audience to seek the solutions they need to their problems? And then number three, what objections might they have to purchasing my product or service? Those are great questions. That's going to open you up for a lot of things. That can help you not only with targeting, but also ad copy. It could help you identify people you want to target, but also people that might not be right, that you might want to exclude from your targeting so you're not wasting money. So that's a really good category. Next category is brand perception and awareness. Three questions here. How familiar is my audience with, and then you could mention some competitors. If you've got competitors that are fairly well known, maybe just try it, whether they're well known or not. Put them in there and see. How familiar are they with my competitors? Second question, what are my audience's perceptions of other brands in my industry or of your competitors? I would ask both questions, really. And I would specifically name some competitors in your industry. And then the third question for this, what factors will influence my ideal customer's decision making when they're considering buying from myself or a competitor? So that's going to give you some gold. Like that's going to help you guys so much. And we just have two categories left. The next one is decision making and purchasing. So what factors influence my audience's purchasing decisions? That's number one. Number two, are there any specific features or benefits that they prioritize? That's a big one. And you might already know this, but so often I talk to people who think they know it. They swear that they know it. But when we really dig in, they don't necessarily know it all. Sometimes there's some really important ones that they didn't realize. So this can help uncover that. Also, just surveying your own customers can help uncover that too. It's really helpful. And then the last one on this category is what would encourage them to take action and make a purchase? That's huge. Like that is something that could really go a long way to help you create ad copy. And also, if you know what encourages people to make a purchase, and you combine that with all these other things we're learning about them through these other questions, it can really help shape who to target and who to exclude. Like I said, it's really important. Those are all the questions. And yes, we have more, but this can't be like an hour-long episode. So I wanted to kind of give you guys some of the most important questions. And while this was kind of focused around ad targeting, the information here, so many of these questions also can apply to ad copy when you get the answers. So I'm going to say this one last time because it's so important. Remember, the answers you get from ChatGPT by themselves are good, but they're not that powerful. It's what you do with them that makes it powerful. especially with ad copy. When you gather this information and then you use your skill and talent to create audiences and ad copy with this information and what you know, that's where that power is. Don't be at a disadvantage and just use what AI spits out, because you're probably going to fail if you do that. Combine that with your expertise and your skill, and that's where all the magic happens, my friends. It's so amazing. All right, episode 362 is in the books. If you guys have any questions about this stuff, let me know. PhilGrahamDigital.com is the website, or you can DM me on Instagram at PhilGrahamDigital. Thank you guys so much for listening. I've got a great episode coming up next week. I'll talk to you then. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast. Please remember to subscribe and share this with all your friends. For show notes, more tips, and to learn more about Phil, please visit philgrahamdigital.com/podcast.